It. We are live. This is the Boston Straight Shooters. This is the show we talk about the Boston sports. We talk about the Boston Celtics, Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox, the New England Patriots. I'm your co-host Frank with my other co-host Steve. Steve, how you doing?
I'm good, Frank. How are you?
All right, so we got a lot to talk about, and of course, everybody's around these parts is talking about the Boston Celtics and the big things going on with the Boston Celtics. But let's talk about the Boston Bruins first. Let's get this show on the road about the Bruins because at the end of the day, the Boston Bruins have been making some noise too, and everybody seems to be overlooking everything that's going on in Bruins country because everybody's so enamored with the Celtics and what's going on with the Celtics, which I understand. We'll talk about that in a second. So, Steve, first let's talk about the big news that's happening in Bruins country, Boston Bruins country.
Well, the big news for them is they have their draft coming up on Friday, and they have the number 7 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of speculation about now whether they're going to trade the pick, what they're going to get back for it. There's a whole bunch of rumors and stuff floating around. Which give me half a second here while I post a link for everybody.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I think I want to just we talk about this one real quick thing about the Bruins. Because the Bruins in this certain situation, I've been hearing on sports talk radio that people should think that the Bruins should be sellers, and I think the Bruins should be buyers. If you understand what that means, you automatically know that the Bruins are in a position right now with the way that their team is going that they need to get talent on this team instead of selling off talent trying to stack obviously picks. They need to be buying some team. They need to buy some people who can make sure they can bring some stuff to the team that can help the team be good instead of tearing the whole team down. Because, like I said a couple of shows ago, and I've been saying this consistently for the last year, is the Bruins literally 2 years ago had the best record in the league. You know what I mean? They're not too far removed from that, even though you might look at it and think they are. So I guess the thing is, Steve, should they be buyers or sellers in this upcoming draft, and then and obviously in the upcoming before the season starts, buyers or sellers? What's your
Well,
take?
they should be buyers if they want to make the playoffs. I mean, you only sell if you're doing a complete rebuild and trying to tank and get to the number 1 overall pick, which they're not in a position for that.
Right.
Their ownership's not going to settle for that. Neither is the fans around here. I think that and I also think that they believe that they'll be able to use the salary cap space they have and draft capital and so forth to get themselves back into a playoff spot. That's the goal. Uh, so they're buyers, to answer your question. That's
Yeah.
what they should be doing.
Yeah. And honestly, at the end of the day, when you have certain situations going on with the Bruins, they have free agents that they have to obviously look at and everything else. And we talked about this a couple of times. Has your mind changed, Steve, on a couple of potential free agents that they should sign? Because we know they're getting the seventh round draft. They're picking seventh. Should they leverage themselves to pick higher, or should they try to get some free agents? Both, because the Bruins are stingy overall. As an organization, they're stingy. So they might not
They
be.
they are stingy. I do know that the Islanders are going after the Bruins for the 7th pick.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're offering back, if you give me half a second to find it here, Danny from our group sent me this. Um, the Islanders want to trade with the Bruins in order to get James Hagens, who's like one of the top 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to trade us Jean Gabriel Pajot, who over the last 3 seasons has scored 13, 11, and 14 goals. He's terrible, and he
Mm-hmm.
makes $5 million a year. We just got rid of a guy that makes $5 million a year. Charlie Coyle scored 10 goals. So no, I'm not interested in that. If they're going to trade that pick, they need much, much better back. They need to get a haul back for that. So, but to answer your question, as I've said on here, Don Sweeney's phone should be on fire, and all options should be on the table as far as whether they trade that pick for some better players or to move up. I have seen some things where they're interested in moving up a few spots to get like in the top 5,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what they should be doing. Now, how they get there, I don't know, but to me, they're stupid if they trade for this other guy. I mean, he's terrible. That would be a total salary dump by the Islanders, and they're looking for a sucker to take it. And I don't think the Bruins to do that. So
Yeah, but do you think the Bruins will do that? That's the question.
if they do, then they'll never make that. They won't make the playoffs. I can tell you that right now. That's a bad deal for them. I would not take that guy. Now there's another guy they have, or another two guys that they're defensemen. Their names escape me right now off the top of my head, but you know, those guys have to be like top four defensemen in order to make that move. And I'm still not a fan of that. I think they should use the pick. They need to get an infusion of young talent on this roster, and they did make some trades to get some, but they haven't had a top 10 pick in I don't know how long. And they need to infuse the roster. I'm fine with them staying where they are and taking the pick, unless they get something substantial back.
Well, let's just. The Bruins have so many problems. They have so many issues. They got so many things to plug in. It's like a dam with the water. You know how you see in the cartoon when one thing but and another thing, and it all unraveled so quickly. I mean, it all unraveled so quickly. And when you sit back and you say, okay, well, how do you get back to where you were? I'm not saying it's an easy path. It's an easy road to do that. I don't think it is. We discussed it several times about management and being the coach and everything else. But the number one priority, I think, and I said this last year, I think that they should tank to be able to get, or at least to start that ball rolling so they could get a higher draft pick. You kind of shot that down. Now they're there. So, Steve, what's the number one thing that they need to do to be able to get back to where they were? Because we all know getting a really, really good team and a really, really great team, it's really hard to do. And how the hell does it unravel so fast, Steve? Like, what the hell? So you got two questions here. How do you get back? And how did it unravel so fast?
So how they get back is they have to make sure that the signings that whoever they sign actually pans out. The two guys they got last year did not pan out, unfortunately. And so it wasn't a money spending problem. It was just that those guys either didn't fit for some reason or whatever, or they had bad seasons. So they need to hit a home run in free agency. And I'll say 2 home runs. They're going to have to sign 2 guys amongst their own guys that they have to sign. So, re-signing your own Morgan Geekie, who scored 33 goals, that's a priority. And I got a list from Tim Anderson, who's a member of our group, who's kind of like the hockey guru here, gave me a list of free agents. I'm not going to go through I'm not going to break it down finite, whether they're restricted or unrestricted. But the top guy I think that he wanted is a guy, Nicholas Ehlers. He's from the Jets. He's a left wing. I think he had 25 or 30 goals last year. They desperately need left wing help up front. They need scoring. They probably need a right winger too. And that's going to help fix some of their problem. And then as far as the tanking thing goes, like I said, listen, they were in the top 5 until the last game when they tied and lost in overtime or whatever. It's like, you idiots, you couldn't. It's like the Patriots winning the last game last year. They knocked themselves out of the number 1 spot. Well, the Bruins knocked themselves out of a top 5 spot by getting a 1 point in that game stupidly. But I don't agree that they should tank unless the season starts out poorly. In their first 20 games, if they're like 5-15 or something, and you see it's going to be going badly already, then maybe. But
yeah, but you're not answering the question, though, Steve.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
How did it unravel so quickly, and what can they do to turn?
All right. So how it unraveled so quickly is they got themselves in salary cap jail when they did 2 years ago when they traded at the deadline for the guys that they got to put them over the hump. They couldn't re-sign everybody, and last year. They didn't have enough young talent in the pipeline to step in. And I'll use killing me. Kid that's been in Providence for 3 years. Their number 1 pick. I've been killing him for 3 years now. He's a bust. Fabian Lysell. He's a winger, and he's supposed to be a goal scorer. He's done nothing. That's a guy that you would expect after 3 years in the minors to be able to step in last year. And they've had no guys down there to be able to come up here and do that. So between that and, not to make excuses, but I think that the Swayman holdout, no training camp, that hurt, on excuse me, on your show, Box Seats, where we had the top five,
Mm-hmm.
reasons why holdouts mess up teams. In a roundabout way, I'm paraphrasing, but every time a guy holds out like that and they miss training camp and they come in late and they're rusty, it always derails the team. They almost never come in and they're in the top of their game, and so that's part of it. Swayman wasn't at the top of his game. Uh, the chemistry in the locker room. Jim Montgomery couldn't rectify whatever was ailing them. And I just think a combination of too many young guys and the new guys not fitting in, and Montgomery not having a grip, and Swayman, it just all snowballed. Uh, and so I think that, usually, and I'll say this about Don Sweeney, I think that for the most part on the free agents, he's better at identifying the free agents than he is the draft picks. So last year was kind of a bad year for him free agent wise. So that's kind of how it got derailed quickly.
So do the Bruins have a group of staff people, does this work like this in hockey? Like in football, you have scouts that scout. It should work like that in hockey, where you have a group of scouts who are in charge of, identifying talent, and then saying, okay, when you get into the war room, okay, we should draft this guy, this guy, this guy. So maybe, because the situation seems to be pretty bad, maybe it's time for them to swap out some of these scouts, because the scouts for the Bruins, they're picking a whole bunch of guys who aren't great. You know what I mean? And maybe that's the issue, because then they got rid of a coach last year. Was it last year or the year before? The Bruins got
No,
rid of.
last year. Well, twice. They got rid of Cassidy and they got rid of Montgomery last year.
Yeah, and they're still drafting the same group of guys. Are they still keeping the same guys in the war room, even though they're swapping out the coaches? Are they still doing that? Do you know?
They've had minimal turnover in the scouting department. It's one guy here, one guy there. They have not wiped the slate clean and got rid of everybody, if that's what you're asking. I don't
Yeah,
think that's
that's
happening.
exactly what I'm asking, because that might be one of the problems. That might be one of their biggest problems that they're having here. Because at the end of the day, you know, one thing you got to give the Red Sox, and we'll talk about the Red Sox soon. One thing I give the Red Sox credit for is they're picking some great talent. You know what I mean? Their scouting system is picking some great talent, but they're bringing them up too early. Whole nother issue. But they do have a lot of guys. The last 10 years, the Red Sox have picked a couple of guys who literally probably be Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? They're batting pretty good. The Bruins not even close. So maybe that's the issue, Steve. Maybe it's, instead of getting rid of the coaches, because the coaches is the guy who has his head in the guillotine. When you getting these guys up and they're not doing well, the coach's head is the first one to go. Maybe it's, clearing out the entire house, not just the coach. Maybe it's clearing out everybody and then saying, okay, let's bring in everybody in, from scratch, and let's see where it goes. Maybe it's that.
I agree with you. I mean, look, they haven't had a lot of turnover in probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And they really have, despite what they said at that press conference at the end of the year about the draft picks, Cam Neely said, "Oh, I don't think it's that bad, as bad as you people make it out to be." He's dead wrong. They have not hit on a number one pick in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They need to hit on those picks. So, it's nice. It's nice that they hit on a few. I think Swayman was a second round pick. Poitras was a second round pick. Trent Frederick was a second round, a third round pick. I mean, it's fine to get a few of those, but you got to get number one, top 10. And I will say also, in their defense, they did not have a lot of number one picks because they traded them away over the course of the years, kind of like what the Red Sox used to do. They were trading away the talent on the farm to win now.
Yeah.
So they didn't have number one picks to do anything. And I don't get upset at the teams that trade number one picks when they're trying to win championships. That I'm okay with that. But that's part of the derailing you were asking about earlier.
Well, you're only okay with it because it makes the team do well, but you get pretty upset when they don't win, and now you lost your right hand and your left hand, right?
Well, listen, I'll say this again. 2 years ago, and I've said this a thousand times. I'll give Don Sweeney an A+ for what he did at that deadline. He got all the right pieces. They traded away number one picks. I'm fine with that because they had the wagon with the records they were breaking and so forth to win the whole thing. They were favored by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have it both ways. This is Frank. I'll use your argument about the sports radio guys. They want it both ways. They want their cake and eat it too, right? What they want to do is they want to croak the team for not going for it, and then also croak them because they traded away the number one picks in order to go for it. Like, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. You have to give up assets in order to win now, and then you have to give up those same assets like Brad Marchand in order to get number one picks back. It's a cycle.
Right, right. Okay, so I'll give you last word on the Bruins because time is running out. It's time to move on. You want anything else?
Let me just quickly identify two guys that I really want the Bruins to try to get if they can get them. I don't know if they'll be available. One guy's name is Porter Martone. He's a right winger. He's 200 pounds. He scored 37 goals and 98 points in 57 games last year. He's kind of like a power forward. That's the kind of guy they need. They need a right winger that's rugged, kind of like a Cam Neely kind of guy. And there's another guy. He's a center. His name is Caleb Denoya. 35 goals, 84 points in 56 games. They need a playmaking center. So those are the kind of guys I'm looking forward to seeing if the Bruins can get one of those kind of guys. And keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, so now it's time to move on because we're gonna by next week's show we'll probably figure out we'll know who the Bruins have probably drafted. When's the draft?
Friday night.
Yeah, so we'll know, and we'll just further this discussion. And then
they do like the NBA. They do Friday night is round one, and Saturday is round two.
Yeah, and then this way next week you could beat up the Bruins on who they've selected because I'm sure you're going to be upset. So
we'll get to that later when I get to the predictions.
Okay, so let's talk about the Celtics now. It seems like I've been talking about the Celtics all week, so I'm kind of leery of this, but we got to do it. We got to do it because I have been talking about them, and I think I've talked about them too much, honestly, and I'm blue in the face on this. But if you're sitting at home and you already know what we're about to say, Kristaps Porzingis was traded. Of course, Drew Holiday was traded. A lot of people upset. A lot of people up in arms, Steve. And by now, because it's been a couple of days, and I'm sure everybody knows what the deals of the trade are. We can get into that in a second. I will say this. This is not a surprise to me at all because we knew this day was coming 2 years ago, whether or not the Celtics were going to win 2 championships back to back or not. We knew this summer because the Celtics said, hey, we're going to be so much over the tax. We're going to be so much over and by dealing with these player salaries, we have to move these 2 guys. Steve, why is everybody up in arms right now acting like they didn't know this day was coming? You know what I mean? I don't understand.
Well, because they want to win and they're upset because they don't understand how the NBA salary cap actually works. And look, I've tried to explain this on here, one show last year, the year before, and you need a PhD to figure it out. With all the aprons and the exceptions and blah, blah, it'll give you a freaking headache. Yeah. But, without getting too far into the weeds here, I did not realize this is that teams can only spend 2 years in a 5-year period above the second apron before future first-round picks start automatically dropping to number 30 overall. So, your window is basically 2 years, and then, you have to start selling pieces off. So whether that's this year or next year or whatever it is, you have a very small window. And we've talked about this, Frank, I don't know how many times, and we're going to keep talking about it, but we saw it coming. We knew they were going to trade Holiday. We knew they were going to trade Porzingis. We know they're going to trade more guys to get under these aprons. And most of that reason, I think, is because of the new ownership, because they're not going to want to spend that money.
Nobody's going to want to spend that money because if you spend $20 million, you still got a $3 million penalty after you spend $20 million. So you're spending a little bit of money and you're getting taxed another $3 million on top of that because of that. But the number one thing that you're not saying, and I'm hoping you get there, talk about the parity in the league, Steve, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. Get to that.
So listen, I heard you guys talking earlier again on box seats a little bit about this. And, I'm not a basketball aficionado like you guys are. But the thing that strikes me is that there's teams that try to get the big 3, right? And there's a lot of teams that do that. And they all find themselves in the same spot. You got 2 or 3 guys making $50 million a year. And at some point, you can't keep them all. Mm-hmm. That's why Kevin Durant is getting moved around every other year. Mm-hmm. That's why Kyrie Irving's getting moved around every other year. These guys are not able to stay in the same place. And I think that's what creates the parity. It's like, okay, you can have a team for 2, maybe 3 years, and then your luxury tax is going to go so high, you have to move these guys somewhere else, and so another team gets another chance, right? I'll use Milwaukee for an example. A couple of years ago, they had the pieces. They, I don't know how many aprons they were over, whatever. They win the championship. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, this guy's too expensive. This guy wants out. Damian Lillard wants to move, so on and so forth. So the movement, at some point, people are going to have to realize that I think what the Celtics did is they wanted to keep the championship back together another year, at least one more year this year. And if Tatum hadn't gotten hurt, I think they would have been, and the team wasn't going to get sold. They were probably going to be okay with paying these luxury tax for one more year. And then after that, they have to do something. You're forced, right?
No, they weren't going to do that because, Steve, at the end of the day, they were going to play so much money over the tax and in the apron. They had, no matter what happened, even if they won the championship this year, they had to get rid of Kristaps Porzingis and they had to get rid of Drew Holiday. And now they're going to have to get rid of, because if they want to sign Luke Cornett and they want to sign Al Horford, they're going to have to get rid of Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser is $10 million a year. So in order to do that, again, this is the new collective bargaining agreement came in a couple of years ago, and it does not allow you to carry two max contracts on your team. And that's one thing that they did that purposely, because they want to make sure that the small market teams have a chance to be able to win and it not be so over heavy like it was in the 80s and the 90s, all the way up to about 5 years ago. But as of 5 years ago, when the new agreement came down and they sat down and the players sat down at the table, this is what the owners wanted, which really amazes me, like how all the owners wanted to agree with that. That's a whole nother conversation. But I think the owners who signed, there are more owners who don't get a chance, and they all agreed. There are more owners who don't get a shot who now will get a shot. You know what I mean? And now look at OKC. OKC was, if this hadn't been done, OKC would not have been able to make the trades that they did to be able to get SGA and a couple of other guys to be able to put together the team that they have now. But guess what? Now these guys, because they got SGA 4 years ago, they got that other kid 3 years ago, they're going to be literally in the same shoe this time next year. So now they won't be able, if they don't repeat, they're going to be in the same situation that we're in, and they got to peel off people. But unlike the Celtics, they have 10. Well, they don't have 10 anymore because they just used some this year. But they have so many first-round draft picks. They're down to about maybe 7 over the next 3 or 4 years. So I wanted you to talk about parity in the league, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. The days of people repeating and doing and doing it for 3 years in a row and that's over. I don't think we're going to see that. I honestly, I don't think we'll ever see that, because it's getting worse. For the structure, the way the contracts are, it's getting worse. But if you're an NBA fan, you're going to love it. You know what I mean? Steve, you and I both know, you heard me saying in the box seats, the East is so wide open for people to be able to get to the finals. You got the Sixers, you got the Bucks, you've got the now you even have the Brooklyn Nets. You got the
Orlando, I heard you say earlier.
Yep. You got Miami. You got a lot of Detroit. You've got
the Knicks.
Yeah, I said the Knicks. You've got a lot of teams that are wide open, and I'm upset with that. But let's stop that talk right now. Where are you at right now with the belief that the Celtics are taking offers for Derek White and Jaylen Brown? Because I'm gonna say this. I don't even think they're taking offers. I think that they put the word out there they're taking offers, but I don't think they're going to do that at all. I think they're going to sit there and keep building around those three guys and stay right up to the apron, stay right up to the. But they're going to stick with Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum and let them ride this out. That's what I think they're going to do.
I agree with you. I have heard the rumors that there's a gazillion calls going into Brad Stevens about Jaylen Brown and Derek White. And it doesn't seem like he wants to move them, and rightfully so. I agree with you. I think that Tatum, Brown, and White, those are the big three, so to speak. Now,
I hate to interrupt you, Steve, but
yep, go ahead.
There is a news flash that the Celtics just made a trade to number 32 to Orlando Magic for number 46 and 57. And a 2026 second rounder and a 2027 second rounder. So the Celtics just did that. So they traded their number 32 pick, which is I was interested in seeing them do, but because the Celtics don't have picks, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to exactly where OKC is, where they're going to be keep trying to rotate picks so they could stay relevant every year.
The
So
problem is they're all second round picks. They don't have any. None of those picks are first round picks. He's accumulating. He's stockpiling second round picks like freaking Belichick. You're not getting first round picks unless he can find a way to finagle them and
he,
trade
he
second round
might.
picks with Sam Hauser and with somebody else for a number one pick somewhere along the line. I wanted them to use number 32 and get a center. There's two centers in the draft that didn't get picked yesterday. I
Yeah.
wanted them to take one of those guys, 7-foot guys. They need another 7-foot guy. You were right there.
Well,
Dummies.
one pick, that 32, they got one, two, three. They got four picks for that one pick. So even though they're further down the line, what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to make a move and get somebody and package all these picks together with a player to try to pull somebody from another team. You know what I mean? Usually when you get these kind of moves that happen, that's what they probably, and they didn't have the picks to be able to do that to try to pull off a major heist. Again, you're talking about Brad Stevens here. Brad Stevens is not like any of the other people that we have. He's not like the Red Sox. He's not like the New England Patriots. He's not like the Boston Bruins. Brad Stevens is head and shoulders above when it comes to building a team and stockpiling picks and making trades that make sense. You know what I mean? He's the best one we have in the Boston area. And that it's sounding like he's doing that right now. It literally sounds like that.
I
So
like him, but I don't like this trade. I don't like it at all. I'm upset by this because, like I said, they have two 7-foot guys sitting right there. They're worried about re-signing Luke Cornett and Al Horford. In my mind, if you took one of these rookies, you re-sign Luke Cornett, Al Horford. I like him. I'm thankful for what he did here, but you don't have to pay him $10 million. Let him go somewhere else. And you have Nemus, Queta, and Luke Cornett. Those are your two guys, and you got a guy that you drafted that can develop. That's what they got to do. We've been
Steve,
how long have we been hopping on them getting a big guy on this show? Huh?
Yeah, but you're not looking at it right, Steve. And I understand. You're the average fan, and you see two guys there. The Celtics are trying to win now, and they're trying to put something down. So they could be. I understand your thought process. They could be stockpiling again these picks to put it with the player, or just to give away 3 or 4 picks to get a player to be able to add on to the roster because they have Queta. They're going to sign Al Horford and Luke Cornett or one of those guys. You know what I mean? They're going to make some moves. So they could be doing something like that instead of trying to get somebody else they got to develop. But Steve, they've got 7 players right now that they're trying to develop who they've already drafted, who they already have hands on, who's in the G League, that's on their roster. You know what I mean? They have guys. Maybe they're trying to make a move to get somebody right now that can help them win right now. If they get one great center right now and they pair him up with Jaylen Brown and they get right back in the mix of the title contention. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, well, it all depends on who the center is that they get back. You're not getting a $30 million center back, I guess is my argument.
Nope.
It's going to be a $10 million guy, and you got to hope that he fits in.
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, it depends. You have a valid argument, Steve. You got a valid argument because honestly, I wanted the Celtics to get they made the trade yesterday. Oh, let's talk about the trade they made yesterday. Do you have the guy who they traded for yesterday?
Oh, the guy they drafted, you mean?
Yeah, the guy
Hugo Chavez. I mean Gonzalez.
Yeah, Hugo Suave.
Rico Suave. Yeah, Hugo Gonzalez. He's from Spain, right?
Yep.
Right.
He's been a semi-pro since he was 9. He was a semi-pro at 9. I was like, get out of here. I read that, I couldn't believe it.
Semi-pro at 9.
Yeah, he became a pro at 11. He's really, really tight with Luka Doncic. You know what I mean? Luka loves him. Luka says he's the future. You know what I mean? This is what the Celtics, Brad Stevens is head over heels in love with this guy. Absolutely in love with this guy. And he's seen him play a lot. So I'm going
to had to have because I was like, who the hell is this guy? I didn't see this guy in anybody's mock draft. I wasn't paying attention until later on today. I actually did go to a site that had mock draft and it had the writers, and there's 5 different writers. Well, three of the writers had this guy going in the first round, and one of them was to the Clippers at number 30.
Well.
So I was like, some mock draft guys had this guy on their radar, and I had no idea.
some mock draft guys had him as high as 5 too. You know what I mean? Like you asked a certain couple of guys 2 months ago, and I saw 2 or 3 mock draft. They like they thought he was going to go 5th. You know what I mean? So they
That's
thought he was going to go
crazy.
earlier. But the thing is, it's overseas. You don't know what you're going to get when you get this player. So the guy I wanted him to get was the guy. I don't know if you have the draft order in front of you, but
I don't have it.
the guy who came out immediately right after the Celtics made a draft pick, the kid who was a center, that was the guy I thought they were going to get. You know what I mean? I think he came
I
from.
don't know who he is. I don't have it in front of me.
I'm gonna look it up. But
Give me
anyway,
a sec. Give me a second. I'll find it.
yeah, I was like, these guys. I thought the Celtics going to get this kid. You know what I mean? He
But
fit.
that's the thing, Frank. We've been talking for 3 years on this show about them getting big guys, and then they don't freaking get them. There's 3 guys available. The guy you wanted that went behind them, and then the 2 guys that are still left. And I'm like, okay, you need big guys with the uncertainty with Horford and Cornette, and you got to get more of those kind of guys in the pipeline, and they don't have anybody. That's my frustration. I'm not arguing you about the extra picks and trading. Look, if they trade those picks and they get a veteran guy, that's a proven guy that will help them, like Porzingis. And I'm not saying that not $30 million, but maybe he's an experienced guy, been in the league for a few years. I would be okay with that. But now we have to wait now to see if they're going to do that, or if they're just going to keep chucking up threes, which is what I think they're going to do, because that's what they always do. They just keep chucking them up. That's my frustration with that. So I don't know. I mean, I totally understand trading away Holiday and Porzingis and Hauser and whoever else. We're in agreement that they really didn't have a choice. They're not going to stay above these aprons. It's crazy. And I do think, though, that, listen, they should be – I think the Celtics should still be a playoff team with Brown, Derek White. I still think they have enough.
Well, I think they have enough to be a playoff team, but because since the East is wide open, and it depends on who else they add. I think the Celtics are trying to get people who can shoot because they're going to stick with that 3-point philosophy. I think that's what they're going to do. So the Celtics drafted France forward Noah Penda. He was traded to the Magic for all of those picks that we were just telling you about. So that's basically how that worked out. Yeah, and now their draft. The Timberwolves are dealing the first pick of the second round. Again, we're doing this show live right now where the NBA draft is going on in the second round. So I'm gonna tune in to watch that. But let's talk about.
So the center you were looking for, they wanted the Celtics to take after Hugo Gonzalez, after Gonzalez.
Yeah, the guy who came in right out. He's a center or a forward. Who was the guy?
He's a guy. Liam McNeely from Connecticut.
Yes.
Liam McNeely. I know nothing about him.
Liam McNeely. I saw him play.
He's a god.
Okay, well, whoever it is, that kid could play. I was like, this kid is. He was 6. He's 6'6", 6'7". You're right. I thought he was a forward. That kid could play. I thought the Celtics were going to get him, but So let's talk now about. We got to move on because looking at the time, you want to talk about the Patriots real quick and get this
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
There's only some slight news there. So we've been talking about what kind of shape their offensive line is going to be in. And they actually did make a move to sign an offensive lineman this past week. And his name is Yasir Durant. He was with the Patriots in 2021. He just finished winning the championship in the UFL, and he was listed as he earned all UFL as the top left tackle in the league.
Yep.
So that to me is a good move. I think that goes back to what I said. Remember last year when I said that there should be a line out Foxborough Stadium of freaking linemen. Well, this is them, leaving no stone unturned. I like the move, even if he doesn't pan out. They don't lose anything. He's undrafted. He's a free agent. But they will need depth behind Will Campbell. And if this guy pans out and he's the backup, I'd rather have him than Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace and these other guys they had last year that really are basically just orange pylon cones because they killed us last year. And so I like this move. I think it's a good move.
Well, I've been reading a couple of times that the Patriots are interested in making sure they have a monstrous defense. I've heard that quote several times, and I think that they want people who are so disruptive that they're considered monsters on the line. And I think that they're there. I think they're doing a really good job of getting there. I think they're doing a great job of even making sure that the backups of the backups are going to be able to be disruptive. At the end of the day, I saw something today. Steve, about how Joe Burrow stats would have been phenomenal and he would have been an MVP calendar if his defense was good. You know what I mean? And since his defense gave up so many points, Joe Burrow wasn't even in the conversation. And I think that's the same thing that we're going to have here with the New England Patriots, because our defense is going to be so good. We're going to be able to talk about how well the Patriots are doing because the defense is so good, and it's making sure that our offense is doing well too. You know what I mean? So I think that's so. Anyway, but I didn't want to spend too much time on them. I want to talk about. Let's see. We talked about we got to talk about the Red Sox, because the Red Sox. Oh my God! I almost jumped off the I would say the Golden Gate Bridge. What's the name of the bridge? The Star Bridge. Yeah, I almost jumped off.
Star Drive. Zakin Bridge.
Sagan Bridge. I almost jumped off the Sagan Bridge. I was so mad.
Well, Frank, as you know, let me do something real quick here. Hold on one
What
second.
are they on? Are they on a 5-game losing streak now? 6-game
Yes.
losing streak?
Yes. All right. So, as you know, from time to time, the Red Sox have a habit of forcing me to drink. That's where I am now after the latest news this week, and it has nothing to do with the 5-game losing skid. It has more to do with, and you had to have heard this, that the whole Rafael Devers situation, the real root cause is that Breslow decided to use a computer model because the computer model told him that they would have been better off with Christian Campbell at second base, Bregman at third, and Devers at DH, instead of the original plan, which was for Bregman to play second base and Devers to stay at third. I am absolutely livid with this. I cannot believe we have a freaking autonomous robot, idiot moron GM that used the computer and said, well, it's not fantasy freaking baseball here, guy. You know, you're talking about real people. You're an idiot. You want to talk about jumping off the Zakin Bridge? I want to give him a stone cold stunner and throw him off the steel cage. I'm so mad at this guy right now. I'm furious at this. This is so stupid. You could have avoided all of this. And I've been hopping on this, and so a whole bunch of other people have too, I'm sure. Bregman should have been brought here to play second base. They initially told Devers that was the plan when they were going to sign him. Then Breslow decided to do the freaking brainiac computer crap and throw a monkey wrench in everything and upset your number one star guy. Are you stupid?
Yep. And Steve, did I not say there was a root of this whole reason why this guy was really, really angry? Can you imagine being him and Breslow comes in and he tells you A, and then he comes back and he's telling you something completely different because he had a computer tell him it? Can you imagine how angry you would be? And that started the whole thing. That was the beginning of the end. That's the beginning of the end.
I am in total agreement with you. Listen, I'm going to read this real quick. When Devers showed up at spring training, the team broached the idea of him shifting to designated hitter. The computer model said the best version of the Sox would feature reigning minor league player Christian Campbell at second, Bregman at third, and Devers was livid. It says this came after the Red Sox had signed Bregman and apparently told Devers initially that Bregman would play second base. Mm-hmm. But they ultimately decided to listen to the computer and park Campbell at second. I mean, that right there, just so you were right, as usual, ding, ding, ding. The root cause is that they effed this all up from the beginning. They had the perfect plan, which is what we wanted. They still, Frank, today, 82 games into the next year, don't have a legit second baseman. They have guys that continue. Christian Campbell, freaking Hamilton's still here, and any other guys they've been putting over there, continuously making errors up the wazoo. That position is still not corrected. You could have fixed that by putting Bregman there. And I said this last week, and I think I said it the week before too. You would have had 3/4 of your infield would have been solid defensive players. And now you got guys playing third, Toro, Maya. You got first base is a crapshoot too. I mean, they're just going to keep listening to computer models and bringing up all these young kids, and they're overselling. They're overselling the young kids, and they're bringing them up too soon, and they're hurting their development. Is what they're doing.
And they are wasting away excellent performances on the mound. Don't forget that part. They're wasting away excellent performances.
Look, their pitching this past week kind of crapped out. But again, you have an ace finally, Crochet. You know, his last 3 starts, he's pitched 7 shutout innings, got no decision because they lost the game. He pitched 6 innings the game before that. They luckily won. The game before that, he pitched 8 1/3 innings. They lost the game because they can't score, and the bullpen can't hold the lead.
Yeah.
So, everything's falling apart at the wrong times. The pitching's not holding up, or the hitting's been atrocious. I'm sorry. That's another part of this. You got the computer model crap, and then you got the driveline idiots with the launch angle nonsense we've been talking about. And they got 3 hits yesterday and 14 strikeouts. The strike numbers of times that they're striking out is astronomical. I think they're in the top 2 or 3 in strikeouts. That's horrible. They're not hitting with guys on base. They don't play small ball. They don't hit line drives. I mean, I don't know what the hell. I mean, they're going to look like a minor league team. And I heard something earlier that in the 9 games since Devers has left, they're hitting 188 as a team.
Yep.
That's brutal.
Yep. And this idiot right here, this one that you're looking at, literally thought they were going to turn things around because the start of that West Coast trip started out pretty good. I was like, yeah, buddy, this is it. They started things. Yep. And they lost 5 games or 6 games right after that immediately. So
I hate to say I told you so, but I told you there's no hi Denise, we see you. Thank you.
Yeah,
listen, it's just again, too many Ocean State job lot guys, too many reclamation projects. Tanner Houck has had 2 horrible rehab starts. Walker Buehler is a puddle. His last 3 or 4 starts, he's been terrible. Cutter Crawford went down with an injury because he had an accident and hurt his wrist. He's out for the rest of the year now. He has to have surgery. He's done.
Yeah.
So, and get this for a kicker, right? We're talking about the Red Sox possibly trying to make the playoffs. The moron GM came on sports radio yesterday and said that they were going to be buyers at the deadline because he still thinks they're going to make the playoffs. Dude, what are you fixing? You're not fixing anything.
And what are you buying that's going to help fix? Like, what are you going to buy?
Listen, we got Ocean State job lot, Building 19, good stuff cheap. Home goods, freaking, Family Dollar. I mean, Dollar General.
I don't know.
You got Dollar General, Family Dollar. I mean, this guy's bargain bin, bargain shopping everywhere. It's ridiculous.
What a difference a week makes. What a difference 2 weeks makes. Because literally 2 weeks ago, the Red Sox put together 5 good wins, 6 good wins.
They were in the 3rd wild card spot last week, Frank.
Yeah. I don't even know what else to say about them. I'm so disappointed. I'm just, I don't know.
Well, put it this way. They have Christian Campbell so screwed up that right now he's in Worcester working on playing first base.
That's a damn shame. All right, so are we ready to move on? We got a lot to cover. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's one more little nugget here. Now all of a sudden, Alex Bregman is open to an extension while he's on the DL. Go figure. Now that Devers is gone.
Gee, I wonder why.
So yeah, we can move on because it's gonna be a long couple months with them, I think.
Listen, we're about to have a long summer. I thought we were getting ready to have a fun summer. Our summer's going to be really long because of that. And the Dodgers keep winning, and the Yankees are starting turning things around. And yeah,
listen, Devers hit a home run against the Red Sox in the series that they played, and it was the game-winning home runs. That's the old Bob Lobel. Why can't we get guys like this? I mean, former players burn them immediately.
Yep.
So. I don't know. I have no more. I have no more answers for them other than firing. At this point, they might as well just clean house and get rid of everybody. Get rid of Breslow. Get rid of the whole front office. Get rid of Cora. Start from scratch. Get everybody, get a freaking GM that knows what the hell they're doing, and and I hate to say that because you know what? I like Alex Cora, but I feel really bad for him. I don't know how the hell he could have been on board with Breslow going to him and saying, "Hey, I want to go with the computer model and put." If I was him, I would have been like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" But he's got to live with it. He doesn't have to like it, but now he's got to live with it. And I fear that they're muzzling him, and that he's not being negative anymore. He's not coming out bashing the roster and so forth. And remember, I told you. After Devers made those comments about Breslow, I told you they were going to trade him. They weren't going to wait till the end of the year. Breslow must have been pissed when Devers said, "Hey, do your job and get a first baseman." I thought that was funny.
It is funny because he wasn't doing his job. Get us a first baseman.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, I'm not surprised about any of this stuff now. Red Sox are a bargain basement team. So, yeah.
All right, let me correct one thing here. This is from Denise. She said, "Why are we listening to computers?" Don Sweeney making the decision too. Well, Don Sweeney's not using computers, so let me correct that. That was only Craig Breslow. I don't know what Don Sweeney's using. He's using Tiddlywinks. I can't help you.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about now. So are we doing the predictions now? Yeah.
Poll questions.
Poll questions. Let's do poll questions.
Poll questions. All right, we finally have more than one.
Yay!
we actually have quite a few, and I want to thank Danny for his contributions with these questions. Let's see. Do you like the Celtics trade of Drew Holiday to Portland for Anthony Simmons? We had 84% said yes and 16% said no.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Bruins should trade the 7th overall pick in the upcoming NHL draft? Yes, but only if the return is worth it. 66% said yes. No, they desperately need young talent, 34%.
Okay.
Will the Red Sox go further in the playoffs than originally expected? Yes, 0. No, 100%.
If you had asked that question last Wednesday, the poll would have switched. But now after the 5-game losing streak, no, nobody. I don't even believe that either. But keep going.
Well, we did ask that before the 5-game losing streak.
Did we?
Are the Red Sox better or worse than Rafael without Rafael Devers? Better said 66% said better and 34% said no.
Yeah. Now ask that same question again. Ask that same question again.
Ask that question right now today, and it'll flip to probably 100% no and 0% yes because the way they're playing.
Exactly. Okay, so now it's time to move on to the where we at.
Predictions, weekly predictions.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right. Mine from last week, Marcelo Mayer will be the starting second baseman. I have to be determined because he played 2 games there. He's been getting bounced around between second and third, but I think ultimately he's going to wind up there. So I might keep that for another week.
No, I give you that one. That should be a ding. Yeah.
All right. I'll take that. Thank you. I need all the help I can get. I said they were going to make another. Well, Frank, I keep saying I'm going to get a Washington Generals jersey. One of these days, I'm going to get one.
Yes, you are.
Make another move for infield help. Wrong. They didn't do anything. And I have Bruins mess up and take a defenseman with the 7th pick instead of a 4. That was last week's, but I'm going to save that for Friday night because that's to be determined. I still have a gut feeling they're going to go with the defenseman and piss me off. Yeah. So we're going to keep that. So those were last week's. Yours were the Bruins will make a colossal mess up at the draft and pick someone not even on the board. So we'll keep that to be determined. I love how you say colossal mess up. I love that. That's just mine is bad. They're going to pick a defenseman. Yours is like colossal. They're going to have like the 50th guy as like their number 1 pick. Be like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah.
The Red Sox
playing street hockey.
Well, if that's the case, I still have my street hockey stick. Then I'll just put me in there, scrub it. Let's see. The Red Sox will start to turn things around because the cancer in the locker room is gone. Wrong.
Yep.
That backfired.
That was really bad. Woo.
All right. There will be 2 there will be 2 blockbuster trades made in the NBA, and the Celtics will be one of them. Then not only were they one of them, they had 2 of them. So ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
You got that spot on. And no news on the Patriots because they'll sit back, relaxing before training camp. So ding, ding. They're not. You might as well keep that for another 3 weeks. I do want to add this. I do want to add these. I do want to add this because at the very beginning of the year in March, we both made predictions for how many wins the Red Sox were going to get. I said 88 wins and missed the playoffs. And so I did a little math at the halfway point. Seeing as how they're 2 games under 500 at 40 and 42, in order for the Red Sox to win 88 games, they need to go 48 and 32, which is a 600 winning percentage.
Yeah.
You said they were going to win between 92 and 95 wins and go to the World Series. In order for them to win just 92 games, they need to go 52 and 28 and have a 650 winning percentage.
And so they're going to start tonight. That's what they're going to do.
That's not what you said 2 minutes ago.
They're going to start tonight. Get ready to get started. I'm kidding. They might
listen.
80 games.
I don't know if they're going to make 500 now at this point.
Yeah.
So all I can say to that is now that we have these long range predictions and we have these numbers for the halfway point, what they're going to do, all I can say is bottoms up.
You know, you don't have to have reasons just to drink. You're looking for reasons to drink on the show. You're an alcoholic. Cut it out.
Next show, if you see an AA banner behind me, you'll know why.
Yeah. Or a guy standing there like watch those drinks. Or a group of guys behind you because you're sitting in a circle. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to be allowed to watch the Red Sox this week. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's time for next week's prediction. This is my favorite part of the show. I love this part. I keep telling you guys,
Swami, right. Hold on one second. All right. I have a few here.
Okay, keep going.
Ten Houck is not pitching well in his rehab outings down there. I still say he's going to wind up on the DL.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be something wrong with him. These guys I know try to fight through injuries, elbow issues, whatever it is. I think there's something going on we're not being told. Mm-hmm. So I think he's headed to the DL. I think Walker Buehler is going to have another crappy start, and then he's going to go to the bullpen.
Yeah,
that's next for him because unless they can find somebody to trade with and get a bag of balls for him, that's pretty much all he's worth right now. I kind of hope he turns it around because I do like him, and I do think it was a good signing. And I think I don't know if we talked about this last week, but we had Nick Pivetta here for the same money. Nick Pivetta was terrible.
Yeah,
and at least Walker Buehler last year in the World Series pitched good. So he's got a little bit of playoff experience and has championship in his belt. I'd rather have that. So I'm kind of hoping he turns things around. Again, next week at the draft, the Bruins F up take defenseman as usual. LOL. And this is a no-brainer. And this is probably not going to be a surprise to anybody, but we've been talking about, I think Sam Howes is getting traded this week. They're going to continue to clear out space. And those are my 4.
Okay. I like it. First of all, let me say for the record, I like that you had 4 ready to go. I love that. Instead of sitting there
I'm working on it, Frank. I'm working on it.
Sitting there saying, oh my God, what am I going to? Okay, so I like that. Let me start out the gate with the easy one for me. Definitely the Celtics are definitely going to make a move that we see coming. But the Celtics are also, and that's the Sam Hauser move. I think they're going to move Sam Hauser. But I also think that they're trying to come at us with somebody who we did not see coming. Like that. Nope, they hadn't have anybody circled on anybody's board. And I think they're going to do that probably for another forward or center. I think that's what they're trying to do, stockpile these picks to make a move in that direction. So I think they're going to do that. The Bruins, I'm sticking with the Colossal. Can we put in the case?
That's still there. We'll still Colossal mess up. Yep, that's still there.
They're going to do a Colossal mess up. And by the time we come back on the air, Steve will have a rant ready that he probably wrote Friday night while he was drunk.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what. When the rant is going to come, it's going to come after the draft.
That's what I mean. Friday night after the draft, Steve's going to have that rant ready to go. He probably have it written, ready to go. And so make sure you add that. Yeah, I want that part of my predictions too. I bet you'll have that rant ready to go right after the draft. When did the Bruins draft? What number? 7? Yeah. So by the time they get to 10, Steve's rant will be done.
I might have it done by the time they get to 8. If they have 10 minutes, that's all it's going to take.
Yeah. But he'll definitely have it ready to go, and he'll be sitting on it, and he'll be changing it by adding to it by the time we get around for Wednesday. Okay, so that's that. So I did the Celtics, I did the Bruins, the Red Sox. I think the season is totally done. I think instead of them being buyers, I think they need to be sellers. I think I think it's they're at the halfway point. I don't think they have enough, amongst the team and everything else to be able to say, okay, let's take this All-Star break, that's coming up and get back together and then jump back into a groove. I think it's going in the wrong direction. And I think, I don't see it.
Let me throw this in as a prediction for Denise. She said the Bruins are going to do something goalie wise. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. It's not going to happen. So let's put that in this section of not going to happen. Let's see. I did the Bruins. I did the Patriots. The Patriots not doing anything. They're not going to do lickety splits, because they're off. So I've covered everything.
Yeah, that prediction is going to stay for, like I said, probably another 4 weeks.
Yeah. Patriots not going to do anything.
We're not going anywhere. That's not going anywhere.
So we covered the Patriots, we covered the Red Sox, the Bruins, we covered everybody. We did that. So is there any other, maybe kind of predictions you want to do? Because we're ahead of schedule. I like this.
Ahead of schedule. Any more predictions?
Anything else you want to throw out there into the wind?
The Red Sox over the next week will not strike out fewer than 10 in any game. They'll get 10 or more every single game.
Yeah. I like that. That's a strong prediction.
Well, because they have had a few here and there where they get like 7 or 9, but they're playing so bad that I say it's just 10 or more for every game this week coming up.
I think the Red Sox in the next couple of days, and throw this out there too, are going to have more errors than they've had in You're laughing. They're going to have more errors than they've had probably all season.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at them. Listen, I put their team picture up earlier on our. No, listen. I put the Red Sox 2025 team picture on our page. Did you see it?
I didn't see that.
Bad News Bears?
No, no, I definitely didn't see that.
I put a picture of the Bad News Bears up there, and Danny was like, "That's blasphemy towards the Bears. Don't do that."
Yeah, he's right. Because the Bad News Bears won. You know what I mean?
I know.
They won. So that's making the Bad News Bears look bad. Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see it. I'm so disappointed in the Red Sox.
I don't understand. I just don't understand how they keep getting worse. They're not getting better in any areas, and they're doing the same thing over and over again. We've been talking about this. This is the third year in a row now. We've been talking about them doing the same thing over and over again with the same flotsam and jetsam bums that they keep bringing in here, and there's only so much Cora can do. Cora cannot take chicken salad and make filet mignon. You're asking for too much.
Yeah.
And with the number of guys, listen, it's okay when you incorporate one pitcher and like one second base, one young guy or two, but not 5 or 6. Like a third of your team is freaking all these young guys. You're asking for too much. You either develop in AAA. Major league ballparks are not where you're supposed to be developing your young talent. That's not how this is supposed to work. And I listen to sports radio, and there's a guy on 98.5 in the 10 to 2 show who's all, gung ho about the Red Sox, and he's asking like, well, teams like Detroit can incorporate these young guys, and Atlanta can incorporate the young guys. Why can't we? Well, maybe they're young in Baltimore last year, but maybe their young talent is better than ours. But Baltimore tailed off, Atlanta tailed off. The Tigers have been bad forever. They'll have a good year this year, and maybe they'll tail off next year too. It's not a guarantee.
It's definitely not. But that's the world we live in.
Oh, you know what? Before we leave, real quick, I'm sorry, I should have caught this. I do want to mention Zdeno Chara, Joe Thornton, and Jack Parker, all nominated for the Hockey Hall of Fame coming up. So kudos to them. Congratulations. All worthy of the honor. I forgot to get that in earlier.
All right, guys, we're getting ready to roll up out of here, and my dinner I'm smelling my dinner. So yeah, I'm not going to be on here much longer. So it's time to roll out. The name of the show is called Boston Straight Shooters. This is the show we talk about the Boston sports. And next week, boy, do we have a lot more to talk about up in here. And I'll be looking forward to somebody's rant. I'm not going to say no name. Not saying anything. Somebody's going to be so mad. He's going to throw everything in his house that even looks yellow and black. It resembles it. I don't want no yellow in this house. Not saying any names. Not saying any names. I don't know who we could be talking about. But, something I just thought I'd mention. You know what I mean? But anyway, this is the show we talk about Boston straight shooters. We talk about the Bruins. We talk about the Celtics. We talk about the Red Sox. And we talk about the New England Patriots. I'm Frank. Steve, you want to take us home?
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thanks for voting in the polls. Thanks for all the commentary. Be sure to catch us on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you all next week.